Hi, everybody. So today we are going to be talking about 10.2, which is probability. So the learning target for today, which I'd like you to write down in your composition notebook, is I will be able to find the probability of an event. Okay, so we're going to be talking about events and then how we can find the probability of them. So make sure you have this down in your notebook and then we'll move on. Okay, so first, the probability of an event is a number that measures the likelihood that the event will occur. Probabilities are between 0 and 1. Okay, so they're going to be decimals. And again, you can see down here, it's percentages. So think about some times in your life where you might have heard probability. You might have heard the weatherman say, there's a 60% chance that it's going to rain today. Okay, that means that the probability that it's going to rain is 60%, which would be that it's pretty likely. Another thing is you could think of sports teams. Okay, people might say, this team has a 50% chance of winning because both teams have an equal chance to win. So the diagram below relates to the likelihoods. Okay, so you are going to need to write this down, this whole chart down that is boxed in, because you're going to be using it on the big ideas homework. So impossible means it's at 0%. Unlikely is either 1/4, 0.25, 25%. Now remember, all three of these numbers mean the same thing. Equally likely to happen or not happen. So that's just kind of in the middle. And that's half, 0.5, or 50%. Likely is 3/4, 0.75, 75%. And certain is 1 or 100%. Okay, so make sure you have this down in your notebook. Write this down, and then you can move on. Okay, so the first example is describing the likelihood of an event. So that's why you're going to need your chart here. So this says it's an 80% chance of thunderstorms tomorrow. Describe the likelihood of the event. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to flip back to that diagram right here that you just wrote down, and you're going to want to look, what's closest to 80%? Well, I see that 80% is pretty close to 75%. So that means that it is likely. So I'm going to write down, it is likely there will be thunderstorms tomorrow. So again, the likelihood is that chart that you just wrote down, and you're going to take the percent and think, okay, which one does it fall closest to? And then you're going to write it down. So this one would be likely. Okay, finding the probability of an event. So when all possible outcomes are equally likely, the probability of an event is the ratio of the number of favorable outcomes to the number of possible outcomes. So I'd like you to write this down. P of an event, and what this means right here is probability of an event. And on the numerator, you're going to have number of favorable outcomes. And on the denominator, you're going to have number of possible outcomes. And I'm going to show you how to do this on the next slide. But make sure to write this down in your notebook so that you have this down. You're going to need it. Okay, so finding probability. You roll the number cube. What is the probability of rolling an odd number? So your event in this case is rolling an odd number. So what we are going to do is we are going to write down P of an event. I'm just going to write down the generic formula from this slide that we just wrote down. And that is probability of an event is the number of favorable outcomes over the number of possible outcomes. All right. So this specifically is going to be the probability of rolling an odd. So I'm going to fill in odd there. And now the favorable outcomes. So the favorable outcomes are going to be, well, how many times can I actually roll an odd number? So I know that in the dice, you could either roll a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. I know that 1 is odd, 3 is odd, and 5 is odd. So that means there's 3 odd numbers that are possible. So we're going to write 3 there, okay, over the number of possible outcomes. I know that there are 6 total options, And let's make sure we label this so you know what we're writing. So there are 3 odd numbers. And then the total possible is there are 6 total numbers. Okay. And then, of course, we want to simplify. We always want to simplify our fractions. So I know that 3 over 6, I could divide both by 3, divide both by 3. That's going to give me 1/2, which if I want to write 1/2 as a percentage, it's going to be 1/2 or 50% because that is also equal to 1/2. And remember, you can do 1 divided by 2 in your calculator. And then if you do 1 divided by 2 in your calculator, you will get 0.5. And then remember to move a decimal to a percent, you're just going to move it to the right 2 times, and that gives you 50%. Okay, that is example 2. So make sure you have all these notes down so you can use them on the big ideas assignment, and you will be getting started on that shortly. Thank you for watching.